What's up, my gamers? We're back with My Hero Academia, and we're talking about the latest chapter, chapter 425. This chapter was really great. I had a feeling that the story might continue after all, even though it's supposed to end soon. That makes me a little sad, because we know that after the epilogue, it's over. I don't think the author, Horikoshi, is planning a second part of My Hero Academia, especially because the story of One for All and All for One has come to an end. But let's take a look at what happened in this chapter anyway. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Here we go. It's just crazy. We're now seeing the moments we've been waiting so long for in a single chapter. Of course, that's not all. There's more to come. But the fact that Deku is a sophomore and that Nejire, Tamaki, and Mirio have graduated and are now professional heroes is incredible. And the fact that we're getting a new first class, a new class 1A, is really exciting. I'm very curious to see what will happen in the next chapters, and if we really will see a new class 1A. It's great to see Nejire celebrating her graduation, Tamaki shyly accepting it, and the whole crowd cheering as Mirio leaves the school. That's the old My Hero Academia feel that I really missed. Also, the graduating class partying so hard at present mic is a moment I really enjoyed. We know what it was like at the beginning with Deku and Bakugou. It changed a bit in the second year, but not as much as with the third year students who are now leaving the school. That was a really funny moment. We also learned that graduation is in June, a few months after the big war, after Deku defeated Shigaraki. That's the information we have. In the meantime, there's been a bit of a lull, but that time gap alone is huge. 2 months. And only now the graduation ceremony. I think it was even planned much earlier, but because of the last war, because of All for One and Shigaraki, everything has been postponed. That's why we get some additional information from the narrator, I think it's Deku, about what happened in the background. There's a lot of cooperation with other countries using their resources to rebuild Japan. The driving force behind this is Nezu. Nezu has gotten the other nations to help more. As a result, the cleanup work has progressed very quickly. Of course, even in this world of superheroes, it would have happened either way, that the cleanup would have progressed quickly. But now, with the help of Nezu and the other countries, things are looking really good. That's why one very specific person has decided to give a little speech, and that's none other than Mirio Togata. Yes, folks, Mirio is back to give his graduation speech. No jokes, but serious words. He addresses important topics. The heroes always have something to lose, no matter what. It's always about limiting the damage and making everything right again. That's a big task. Ideally, Mirio would even like to create a bright future in which everyone is happy and has fun. That is his great wish. But to achieve this wish, you have to work hard. Mirio thought to himself, hey, I'll start with a special celebration today. This weird aunt, Mimimi or whatever her name is, I don't know exactly what it is, a very strange name. In any case, it was a wild exit from Mirio and a cool message for what might come in the next chapters. After all, Deku said in the last chapter that peace can't be restored so easily. You might have naively thought that everything would be fine after Shigaraki and All for One disappeared, but the real work starts when it's all over. What I think is great is that we now see Class 2A, so Deku's new class or old new class, whatever, and the old class teacher. Normally Aizawa only takes care of the first class, but in this case, it's different because of the current circumstances. It's great news that Deku and his friends get to see Aizawa for a second year. The reaction of the class speaks for itself. Everyone is thrilled. Mina even starts to cry because she is so happy that Aizawa is staying with them. Bakugou is also there. He was supposed to stay in hospital, but it's been announced that he'll be allowed to attend class if he stays calm. I hope he does, because he really needs a lot of rest and recuperation, because the injuries he sustained in the final war arc are very serious. That's something to keep in mind. Speaking of consequences, there's one character who has really blatant consequences that he's imposed on himself, and that's Aoyama. He actually leaves the UA and Class 2A. It actually happened even though Aizawa, Nezu, and the other teachers said he could move on. But this is the right way for him, because he was actually only in Class 1A at the UA because All for One wanted it that way. That's why Aoyama has decided to take responsibility for his mistakes and start from scratch. That's his decision, and you have to respect that. I think it's good that some characters have to face consequences. The fact that Aoyama is now stepping down is a good thing, especially because there is now a vacancy. And that place will of course be taken by Hitoshi Shinso. Shinso is in Class 2A. How cool is that? He is now an official member of Deku's Class 2A, and that's really great. You can compare it a bit to Aizawa's time in the UA when he was still a student. More or less, Shinso takes his position now because Shinso has a lot in common with Aizawa. Aizawa has personally taken him under his wing. I think the real reason why Aizawa is in charge of the second class is because he really wants to train Shinso, At least that's my guess, that this whole accidental situation came about that way. But that's just by the way. Of course, Aoyama has a little farewell gesture. He fires his naval laser into the area, making our invisible girl Hagakure visible again. Naturally, our little lecher Mineta overreacted. Yes, even in such a situation he can't help himself, but is immediately reprimanded by Aizawa. I also found that very funny. We also see the new third class, Class 3A. Horikoshi has already hinted at it many times. Now it's apparently involved in an operation, especially for the second and third classes, because they also have to help with all the cleanup work and see where bad guys are still active. That's very ambitious. We know that there are very few heroes left, and now they're more or less relying on the students again. It's a bit strange, but there doesn't seem to be any other choice. We could see the third class in action, because it has also been said that there are still a lot of villains in Japan. That's why there might be fights. So we'll probably see some of the third class in action as well, and I'm really looking forward to that. We then see a villain wandering around aimlessly in the next moment. Maybe that's someone familiar that we've seen before in the story, or a very strong villain. Class 3A is also a bit jealous of Class 2A because they get a second year with Aizawa. After all, Class 3A was also in the first class that Aizawa led to prepare them for the harsh reality. One character who said almost nothing in this chapter was Deku. He was kind of distant the whole time, couldn't really talk to the others and had his mind elsewhere. This is very atypical for Deku, who is usually very talkative, but in this case he wasn't. I think the One for All thing is still bothering him a lot. He hasn't been able to process it properly yet. He might not be a hero in the long run. I hope there's a turnaround, that he can keep One for All after all. Maybe Shigaraki's last blow has brought back a bit of One for All. But we'll have to wait and see. One controversial thing that has been discussed for a long time is Deku's haircut. Apparently Ochako doesn't like it that much either, which I find pretty funny. Ochako wants this hairstyle to disappear as soon as possible. Yes, most Academia fans don't particularly like this haircut. That's why I find it funny that Ochako feels the same way. The cliffhanger of this chapter is really exciting. It's about Shoto, Endeavor, and a mysterious metal tank. I can imagine that Dabi or Toya is in this tank, especially the way Endeavor is sitting in a wheelchair in front of it. It's very likely that this is Dabi. Shoto's look could also more or less confirm this. I'm very excited to see what happens next and hope that we'll learn more of the Todoroki family story. Let's see what else will happen. Please let me know what you think of this chapter in the comments below. Fill up the 1,000 likes. That would make me happy too. Otherwise, we'll see and hear each other again in other videos. Until then, peace out. I can imagine that Dabi or Toya is in this tank, especially the way Endeavor is sitting in a wheelchair in front of it. It's very likely that this is Dabi. Shoto's look could also more or less confirm this. I'm very excited to see what happens next and hope that we'll learn more of the Todoroki family story. Let's see what else will happen. Please let me know what you think of this chapter in the comments below. Fill up the 1,000 likes. That would make me happy too. Otherwise, we'll see and hear each other again in other videos. Until then, peace out.